I'm just picturing Jonathon India at his locker, and all of a sudden he gets asked questions about what are they going to do when they bring Ella De La Cruz up, and they're going to end up having to move you, and it just kind of infuriated me that we're contemplating that when this team is finally playing competitive baseball, and it looks like they're almost starting to kind of gel. And this is just a couple weeks after the Yankees came through Cincinnati and just went like that, get out of the way here in Cincinnati, and on the back end of that, they're starting to kind of almost form an identity. And I think India is right in the middle of that, is really kind of the leader of this team.
So what would you do? I know you explained it a little bit on Twitter. So you take Ellie, you put him in the outfield.
I'd put him at third. I'd put him in the outfield. There's got to be room for all these guys, right? I mean, you're talking about a team that didn't have anybody other than Joey Votto for a number of years, and all of a sudden you get a guy like Spencer Steer, who's a third base guy and can really play around, and they got him over at first right now because of Votto, and I don't know if that's his future or not. They moved Nick Senzel, who came up as an infielder. They moved him to the outfield. Now they move him back to third base because of some of these injuries that they've been dealing with. I don't know Ellie De La Cruz's history. I don't know if he's a third baseman, if he could play third. The kid, Matt McCain from UCLA, this kid is, you talk about bringing some juice into the lineup and just the way he plays the game. It's hard to imagine him not being there. And I don't know anything about Ellie De La Cruz other than what you read and the exit velocity and hitting 465-foot home runs. I mean, it all sounds great. But again, I'm big on chemistry, and India is kind of driving the bus right now. And I wherever you're going to put him, he's got to be on the team. Like, you imagine, you guys have been on team sports your whole life. You imagine taking like the alpha of a clubhouse out because the potential of a rookie, it just, that doesn't add up to me at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, you got to stick with your guys, right? And it's just, for me, moving a young guy around, if he's not used to doing it, it's not the easiest thing to do. I was fortunate to be able to do it, but I had to do it. I wasn't the top prospect. I wasn't leading the world in exit velos like this kid is, but it's not an easy thing to do. And I feel like as a young guy coming up, they need to be comfortable when they get to the big leagues, and they need to play somewhere where they feel comfortable. And if they're playing a position where their head's spinning, it's going to affect every part of their game. I think this kid is athletic enough to be able to move. It's just a hard thing to do, to ask a young kid to do it. And I did it because I had to, right? I mean, if I wanted to be in the big leagues and stick, I had to. I said yes to
No, I
everything.
respect that. And I respect all your guys' opinions just because
Yeah.
you've lived it. I'm just a guy who follows it and loves it. But I think what you're bringing up under a normal set of circumstances makes a lot of sense to me. And this kid, he might be the number one prospect in all of MLB, not just for the Reds. My question is for you guys, when you have a team, and I don't know how much you guys watch the Reds, but I mean, literally, you take three from the Cubs. They got their first two. They've won 5 in a row, 6 of 7. We haven't said things like that for the Reds in a long time. And you're starting to, like I said, see like a team beginning to believe in themselves. And if you look how they win games, inevitably they're down 4-2 in the 6th, and they come back and win games. And you guys know when you do that with a young team that's told they suck, what that does as far as us against the world mentality. So my point is, like, just because this guy has ridiculous potential, are you worried more about him and moving him to third base, or moving him potentially because you want to get him up there? And look at what you're putting him on, a team that's finally starting to form a little bit of chemistry and a us against the world mentality. I think I'm more worried about what's going on with the big league organization than this rookie that has ridiculous, they're talking like Eric Davis, ridiculous potential and what he can be.
I think you hit it. I think you hit it exactly right. I think you have a team that's putting your players together, and you have this this weird chemistry that's really coming together and positively with young players within the constraints of their payroll.
Yeah.
My question to you, would you, whatever it is, Kirk Herbstreit's going to make the lineup, and you're going to be like, all right, these are our guys. Would you be willing to risk making the playoffs this year, maybe in the future you don't make it as many years. Do you want the playoffs this year? Or would you rather have 3 of the next 4 years after this? Because, and I say that because sometimes when you move rookies around, I know Nick Senzel's had a lot of injuries that he's dealt with. I saw his debut, and he was the next coming. It was going to be the next, and we can start naming other guys. Nick Senzel's kind of bounced around. Now he's in left field. So there is a level of you want the most out of Elly De La Cruz. If we're just talking about Elly De La Cruz. Mm-hmm. And so would you be willing to risk that for this year? Elly, go to left field. It's okay. Because I don't think David Bell's going to be a guy that's going to be like, it's okay, Elly. He's just going to be like, hey, dude, we're winning. Come in and help us win.
Yeah, I guess my initial response to like what the answer is, how when you just tweet, you're running out of room. You don't even know what you're just like, move him to the outfield, whatever. I'm not like dead set on move him to the outfield. I mean, I leave that to guys like you who played the game and know the game. But as you're giving these scenarios, Nick Senzel has become really more of an outfielder. I think he's playing third more out of necessity than, even though that was his more natural position when he came up. You could probably move him into the outfield, move him back out there and put Elly De La Cruz at third base. This sounds crazy, but a guy like this kid, Jake Friedel, who's really just become, I don't know if you guys know much about him or watch him at all. I don't even know I don't know what his payroll is. This guy is become like an Energizer bunny. And with him healthy at the leadoff spot, India's been that leadoff hitter since last year. They put Friedel at the top as a lefty against right-handed pitchers. McLean is it's at second, and India goes down to third. I mean, that's become their really best lineup because those first 2 guys can get on base and they can actually run, which the Reds haven't had in forever, guys that can move around. So I would rather, instead of giving up on this year or next year, I would try to just find the right combination. And if there's a delicate approach to De La Cruz, put him at third. My whole point in all this is I'm a big believer in team sports, on chemistry and leaders. And in my opinion, the Reds haven't had a guy in that clubhouse. They've had some good people, but really Scott Rowland, I felt like on the back end of Griffey Jr. and Adam Dunn was the first true, this is how you're a professional. This
Kirk,
is how you do it.
Kirk, sorry, you just said Adam Dunn?
On the back end.
I'm just laughing because I played with Adam Dunn, and I love Adam, but I wouldn't put him at the level of Griffey and those guys. I love Adam.
But Adam was a beast.
He's one of my favorite dudes of all time, but I'm not putting him at Griffey and Scott Rowland.
Dude, no, I'm saying when Dunn and Griffey were there, there was a talented lineup. And Dunn's, he's hitting home runs type of thing or striking out. But it was when Scott Rowland came in, just as an observer, it was like, holy shit. It's like there's a sheriff in town. And it just, with a young team, Jay Bruce and young guys around him, it was almost like they learned how to be professionals with Scott Rowland came to town. You guys know Scott Rowland better than me. Maybe I'm completely missing it. But it just felt like at that stage of his career when he came to Cincinnati, everybody got in line and did what they were supposed to do. And it just feels like India is the first guy since Rowland that people are responding to his style of leadership. And he's like, we might not be the most talented guy. He said this in spring training, but we're going to get that extra base. We're going to do the little things that people who love baseball do. And now 2 months in, he's been the catalyst to that. So my point is just because you have this rookie who's a freak, I just don't know if you address India as the guy that's the odd man out because you have a lot of young and up and coming talented people. I don't think you have to make a choice right now. I think you can find a way to mix and match the lineups and still keep them happy. But taking Jonathon India out of that lineup or moving him as a guy who follows this team, I think it would be a disaster at this point.